Morning friends, Russell here. On the docket today, Porsche 986 Boxster. Headlights aren't working, sort of. We've got high beams we do past the flash, fog lights work, and the city lights work, but we're not getting the standard low beam or high beam. When the customer told me this over the phone, I already knew it's the headlight switch, but we'll go through some of the diagnostics. Anyway, essentially it's checking the fuses. And actually, we're not even gonna do that. If you've got a 986 Boxster, you know where the fuse panel is. The high beams are fuse alpha 1 and alpha 2, and the low beams are alpha 9 and alpha 10. So on the fuse panel, the first row of fuses, the first two is the high beam, the last two is the low beam. I've already checked them, they're good. There's no relays in this car. The only other thing it could be, short of possibly the bulbs both burned out, that never happens. It's one at a time. It's the switch. I know it's the switch. And I know it's the switch based on what he told me, combined with when we sold him the car, the fog lamp switch was hard to pull. He thought it was hard to pull. I told him to put his big boy shoes on and pull it, and of course it worked fine. So we're gonna replace this headlamp switch. And they're not, for a Porsche part, they're not that expensive. This little booger right here. It's the same switch. All the 986 Boxsters and all the 996 Carreras or 911s, however you want to refer to them, use this switch regardless of year, regardless of lighting package on it. They all use the same switch, which is actually a genius move on Porsche's part. So let's get started on the removal and install. Okay, so the headlight switch, we just talked about what we're replacing, is located right here. It's mounted into the vent panel. To remove the headlamp switch, you have to remove the vent panel. There's 3 screws holding the panel in, and they are T20 screws. 2 of them here. 1 of them is actually behind the switch knob. To remove the switch knob, you pull it out to the fog light position, and in the little pass, and there's a notch there, and you pull it out. So on the bottom of the switch, the little springy thing you catch with a pick to get the switch out. So that's out of the way. Pull that screw out. All right, so all the screws are disconnected. Takes a little bit of wiggling. To get this out. Pry tool. Third screws out. So, so once you've got it out, this shouldn't be torqued on tight. Get some needle nose in there. Loosen that nut, which you're going to reuse. And the switch is going to make a liar out of me. All right, so obviously 2 electrical connectors on this. This one here is for the lights, that runs the lights in here, and then obviously the switch for the connector for the switch itself. Okay. Once you get the switch panel assembly out, to remove the switch, you have to remove this piece. There's 3 locking tabs that sometimes lock well, sometimes they don't. Sometimes it gets sticky. And it'll pull out, right? Once it's out of the way, I may have been wrong. Right. So once it's out of the way, looking at the rear of the switch, you turn it clockwise and it pulls out. So we're going to immediately put the new switch in. And the reason you've got to pull this piece out, if you look at the back, it's got some slots in there, and those slots lock into the switch. So when you put the switch in, see the little slot in the bottom of the shaft? The slot has to be at the bottom of the housing. And then install is opposite of removal. The headlight switch only plugs in one way. And then you plug together the switch for the lighting. And then you finagle it all back in. And mind you, it's a plastic piece, and it's fragile, but it's not that fragile. Just don't force it. Here we go. Okay. Put our nut on. Torque. We put our screws in. There we go. I know you can't see me, but obviously once you put a new switch in, you want to test it. So take 2 on the testing, key in the ignition to on, and you'll see it on the back wall. Headlights work, high beams work, fog lamps work. And that's all there is to it. Changing the headlamp switches in these 986 and 996 Porsches, it is really, really easy. The only advice I give, if you're doing it yourself, is be careful with removing the outer trim piece from the switch housing. The tabs are very fragile. You kind of have to work them out of, and they're not really locking tabs, they're more locating. So kind of, it's stiff, but it has to come out some so that you can turn that switch and get it out, because that piece locks it in. So the switch sits in, rotates, and the outer lock ring goes on, and then the nut tightens that outer lock ring down. So it does have to separate out. Be very careful because of that circuit board with the LEDs in it behind it. And then put it all back together. Really simple job to do. Fixes a lot of problems. Any headlight problems or lighting problems on a 986, 996, I've seen changing the headlight switch fix radio problems. I've seen changing the headlight switch fix cruise control problems. I don't know why. I'm not an electrician, but this is the deal we have with modern cars. Once again, if you like this content, go ahead and hit like, hit subscribe, hit that bell icon for future notifications. And as always, there's more to follow.